Welcome to From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers, a podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career, and hosted by Work Defined. Join our AI co-hosts as they dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Let's get your career started.
I want to start with a specific moment. It's that split second after you get the email. You know the one. Mm-hmm. You've applied, you've waited, maybe you've even given up on the role entirely, and then ping, they want to talk.
The dopamine hit.
Right, dopamine hit, and then immediately followed by the stomach drop.
Oh, yeah.
Because now it's real. Now you actually have to perform. Mm-hmm. And I think for a lot of us, it doesn't matter where you are in your career, that interview slot feels like a huge bottleneck.
It is.
You can be brilliant on paper. You can have a portfolio that sparks joy. But if you freeze up in that 30-minute Zoom call,
yeah,
it's just game over.
It is. It's the highest pressure part of the whole funnel. And historically, the advice has always been the same, research the company, practice in a mirror.
Get a good night's sleep.
Right. Which is fine, but it doesn't really change the power dynamic, does it?
Yeah. No. And that's why I was so interested in the piece we're breaking down today. It's titled Tips for Using AI to Prepare for Job Interviews, published by College Recruiter earlier this year, written by Keith Spencer. And what struck me wasn't just that he was talking about AI. I mean, everyone is.
Of course.
But it was how he frames it.
Yeah, he's not talking about using ChatGPT to, write a fake cover letter or cheat on a coding test or something.
No, thank goodness for that. We've been there. This is different. Spencer frames AI as a way to level the playing field. It's about using these tools as a private, rigorous, 24/7 career coach.
Which is a massive shift. Usually that kind of coaching is a luxury. It's expensive.
Right.
But Spencer's arguing that if you have the right prompts and the right strategy, you can simulate that high-level preparation for free. And the key, which he says over and over, isn't to let the AI do the work for you.
No.
It's to use the AI to force you to do the work better.
Right. It's active, not passive. And looking at the workflows he lays out, this applies whether you're a fresh grad trying to get your foot in the door or, a senior VP looking to pivot. The logic holds up.
Absolutely. The complexity of the output changes, sure, but the mechanism is the same.
So let's get into the weeds. Spencer breaks us down into a few distinct phases, and the first one is what I'm calling the detective work. This is everything that happens before you even think about answering a question.
And this is where most people fail. They glance the job description, skim the About Us page, and think, okay, I'm ready.
I am so guilty of that.
Yeah.
You see the job title, you see the salary range, you skim the bullet points. Okay, they need project management. I can do that. But Spencer suggests using AI to do a forensic analysis of the job description itself.
Forensic is the perfect word because, let's be honest, job descriptions are notoriously bad.
No, they're awful.
They're written by HR generalists who might not get the nuance, or it's a copy-paste from 5 years ago. It's full of jargon like synergistic thought leadership or
drive deliverable-based outcomes, which means absolutely nothing to a human being.
It's just noise. But AI is excellent at that signal-to-noise processing. Spencer suggests taking that dense block of text, pasting it into your tool, and asking a very simple question. What are the top 3 priorities for this role, and who is the ideal candidate psychologically?
That psychological part is interesting. You're asking the AI to build a profile.
You're decoding the subtext. Maybe the JD mentions fast-paced environment and handling ambiguity 4 different times. The AI will flag that. It'll say, this company values resilience and autonomy over perfectly following a process.
Wow.
And that is gold. That tells you how to frame every single answer you give.
That leads to the specific tactic in the article that I thought was the most valuable, even if it's a little painful. The gap analysis.
I love the gap analysis.
It's so counterintuitive, though. Usually when we prep for an interview, we're trying to hide our flaws. We want to bury the fact that we've never used Salesforce or whatever.
Right.
But Spencer says, no, put a spotlight on it.
Because here's the reality. The interviewer is going to find the gap. It is their job to find the gap. Sure. If you walk in just hoping they don't notice you lack a certification, you are walking in with fear. You're defensive from the start.
So walk us through the workflow on that. How do we use the tool to do this?
Okay, so you feed the AI your resume.
Yeah.
Then you feed it the job description. And you give it a prompt like, be brutally honest. Based on my resume and this job description, where am I unqualified? What are the biggest gaps that would make a hiring manager say no?
Ooh, That takes some thick skin.
It does. It might come back and say, you have zero experience with enterprise-level budgets, and this role requires managing $5 million, and that hurts to read. But now you have the data.
And once you have the data, you can prep the counter-argument.
Precisely. You can then ask the AI, okay, I don't have that $5 million budget experience, but I have managed high-efficiency lean budgets.
Right.
How can I bridge this gap in an interview? And now, instead of stuttering when they ask about money, you have a strategic answer ready. I haven't managed a $5 million pot, but here's how I maximized ROI on a $500K budget, and here's how that discipline scales up.
You turn the liability into a pivot.
You own the narrative. That is what confidence looks like. It's not knowing everything, it's knowing exactly what you don't know and having a plan for it.
There's another layer to this detective work that Spencer touches on, which is external context. We talked about skimming the About Us page, but in 2026, with tools like Perplexity or even just Google's AI, that's just lazy.
It's the bare minimum. If you go in and say, I see you were founded in 1998, nobody cares. You need to understand the current pressures the company is facing right now.
So instead of just Googling the company name, you're asking the AI what specifically?
You're asking things like, what are the biggest market challenges specifically facing company X in the last 6 months? Or how has the recent merger of competitor Y impacted company X?
Oh, that's good. Because if you can drop that into conversation, I saw that your competitor just launched a Gen AI feature. How is your product team responding to that?
That stops the interview cold. In a good way.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you are not an applicant. You're a consultant. You're thinking about their business problems, not just your job duties. That is how you level the playing field, to use Spencer's phrase again.
Okay, so we've done the detective work. We know who they want. We know what we're missing, and we know the market context. Now we move to part 2, the fortune teller. Predicting the questions.
Right, and this is where people usually get stuck. They Google common interview questions.
What is your biggest weakness?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ugh, yeah.
And those are fine to practice, but they're low value, they're generic.
Yeah.
Spencer argues that if you want to win, you need to predict the specific questions a specific job description will trigger.
This goes back to the prompt engineering again. It's all about being specific.
You paste that JD back in. You say, based on the requirements for this senior marketing manager role, what are 5 difficult behavioral questions I will likely be asked?
The behavioral questions, those are the tell me about a time when question.
Exactly. The ones that trip everyone up. Tell me about a time you had a conflict with a stakeholder. Tell me about a time you failed to meet a deadline. If you have to come up with those examples on the fly, you will probably ramble. You'll bury the lead.
So the AI looks at the text, it sees something like must be able to influence without authority, and it predicts. Tell me about a time you had to convince a senior leader to change their mind.
Spot on. And now you can dig into your memory bank before you're under the lights. You can find that specific story, but, and this is a huge flashing red warning sign in the article, do not script your answers.
This is the parrot trap, right?
It is. If you ask the AI to write the answer for you and then you try to memorize it, you are going to sound like a weird, uncanny valley robot.
Yeah, you can always tell.
People are very good at detecting rehearsed speech. The cadence is wrong. The emotion is flat.
Welcome to This Meeting Should Have Been a Podcast, where we take on workplace issues from a skewed angle.
No corporate buzzwords, you quiet quitters.
And no strategic KPIs or dashboards.
Get out of here. We're talking company culture, leadership, workplace.
Guests who've lived through the chaos.
So forget those slide decks. We're candid, clever, hopefully useful.
We'll see you outside the boardroom. Go Lakers.
Don't wear that. Get out. Don't even wear that hat.
So how do you use the AI to help with the answer without, letting it write the script for you?
You use it to structure your thinking. You use it to find themes. You can say, I have a story about fixing a broken supply chain process. How does that story map to this job description?
Okay.
And the AI might say, focus on the cross-collaboration aspect of that story because this job highlights teamwork. It's an editor, not a ghostwriter.
That distinction is so crucial. It's just organizing your messy human experiences into a format the employer can actually understand.
Right. You're still the one telling the story. You're just telling the version of the story that matters most to them.
Which brings us to part 3. And honestly, this is the part I was most excited to discuss because I think it's the most underutilized. Spencer calls it the mock interview. I call it the sparring partner.
This is the killer app. It really is.
Most people know they can do this, right? You can tell ChatGPT, pretend you're an interviewer, but I feel like most people do it lazily. They just say, ask me a question. And the AI asks a nice, soft question. You give a nice, soft answer, and you feel good.
Which is a complete waste of time. If you want a sparring partner, you need to tell it to hit you.
So let's talk prompts here. How do we make this rigorous?
You have to give the AI a persona. Do not just say, interview me. You say, you are a skeptical, busy hiring manager at a fast-paced fintech startup. You think I might be overqualified and too expensive. Interview me for this product lead role, ask me one question at a time, and after I answer, critique me. Be harsh. Tell me what I missed.
Be harsh. I love that. You're inviting the stress into a safe place.
You have to. If the AI acts like a skeptical jerk and you can handle it in the simulation, the real human interviewer will feel like a breeze by comparison.
And the voice mode feature on a lot of these apps just changes the game here, too. You aren't typing, you're actually talking.
That is essential. Typing gives you time to think and edit. Speaking is immediate. You need to build the muscle memory of getting the words out of your mouth. You need to hear yourself stumbling so you can fix it.
Let's play out a scenario. Say I'm in this simulation. The AI asks me, why should we hire you over someone with more experience? I give my answer. It's a bit rambling. I mention my passion, my degree.
And then the AI stops you. It says, critique. That was too long. You didn't mention any metrics. You sounded defensive about your experience level instead of confident in your adaptability. Try again, but this time, use the STAR method and keep it under 90 seconds.
Wow. That is immediate, actionable feedback. That's better than what most human recruiters would ever give you.
It is. A friend will tell you, oh, you did great. The AI will tell you, you used the word 12 times and you didn't answer the core of the question. That feedback loop is how you get better. You do that 5 times, and suddenly your answer isn't rambling anymore. It's tight, it's punchy.
It's a safe space to fail.
That's the most important part. You can crash and burn with the AI at 11 p.m. in your pajamas. You get the bad answers out of your system so they don't show up in the boardroom.
I really like that framing. It's about exercising the bad answers.
It really is.
Yeah. Okay, so you've survived the sparring session. You're ready. You go to the actual interview. You nail the behavioral questions because you predicted them.
Yeah.
You handle the gap analysis. The interview is winding down. And then comes the reverse Uno.
So, do you have any questions for us?
The moment where so many candidates just drop the ball, they say, nope, I think you covered it. Or they ask something generic like, what's the culture like?
Which is such a wasted opportunity. Spencer points out this is your final chance to demonstrate your competence. The questions you ask can say more about your seniority and intelligence than the answers you just gave.
So how does AI help us generate better questions? We aren't just asking it for a list of smart questions to ask, are we?
You can, but again, we can go deeper. We can go back to that detective work from the beginning. We can ask the AI to play devil's advocate with the job description.
What does that look like?
You paste the JD and you say, what is vague about this description? What is missing? If you were applying for this job, what would you be worried about?
Oh, that is sneaky. I like that a lot.
The AI might come back and say, well, the description mentions reporting to senior leadership, but doesn't specify a department head. It also mentions aggressive deadlines, but doesn't talk about team size or support resources.
Which are red flags.
Potential red flags. So now you turn that insight into a question. You look the interviewer in the eye and say, I noticed the role involves aggressive timelines for product launches. Can you tell me a bit about the current team structure and what resources are available to support those sprints?
That is a power move.
It shows you are thinking about execution. You aren't just daydreaming about the job title. You are thinking about how to actually get the work done.
It also completely shifts the dynamic from, please hire me, to, I am vetting you.
Correct. And that confidence is infectious. People want to hire people who value their own work. If you're asking detailed structural questions, you signal that you're a professional who takes their career seriously. You aren't desperate.
And honestly, it helps you avoid a bad job. If they can't answer that question about resources, maybe you don't want to work there.
Exactly. The AI helps you see past the marketing fluff of the join our family text and see the actual operational reality of the role.
So if we zoom out and look at this entire workflow that Keith Spencer laid out, it's really about preparation depth, isn't it?
It's moving from shallow prep to deep prep, 100%.
Step 1, analyze and decode. Don't just read the JD. Understand the psychology and the gaps. Step 2, predict. Don't just guess. Use the data to find the likely behavioral questions. Step 3, simulate. Spar with a tough, distinct persona. And step 4, strategy. Ask questions that prove you understand the business.
It sounds like a lot of work. And, it is. But the alternative is sitting in your car 10 minutes before the interview, sweating, trying to remember what the company actually does.
Anxiety thrives on ambiguity. This whole process just kills ambiguity.
That's a great way to put it. It gives you a plan.
But I want to circle back to the conclusion of the article, because for all this talk about algorithms and prompts, Spencer ends on a very human note.
The human element, yeah.
He insists that AI is a tool, not a replacement. It can organize your thinking, but it cannot replace your story.
It can't. The AI doesn't know about that summer you spent working retail that taught you patience. It doesn't know about the specific moment you realized you wanted to be an engineer. It can help you frame those stories, but the raw material, the spark, has to come from you.
Right. If you walk in there and sound like a text completion engine, you lose.
You lose immediately. Connection is still the currency of the interview. You hire people you like, people you trust. AI just helps you clear away the clutter, the stuttering, the wandering answers, so that the real you, the competent you, can actually connect.
It's about removing the friction so your personality can shine through.
Ideally, yes. That's the goal.
Before we wrap up, I have a thought that's been brewing while we've been talking about this. And this wasn't in the source material, but I think it's where this is all heading.
Let's hear it.
If everyone starts doing this, if every candidate uses AI to predict the questions, refine their answers, and practice until they are polished, the perfect answer becomes a commodity. Everyone is going to sound competent. Everyone is going to have a structured SCAR method answer for every situation.
That's true. The baseline quality of candidates is absolutely going to rise.
So if the answers are all good, how do you stand out?
I think we just touched on it with the reverse part. If the answers become commodities, the differentiator becomes the questions you ask. Curiosity and insight. AI can give you answers, but AI, at least right now, can't replicate that spark of genuine, specific curiosity about why a company works the way it does.
So maybe the future of interviewing isn't who gave the best speech, but who asked the question that made us stop and think.
I think that's a very safe bet. The candidate who turns the interview into a collaborative problem-solving session is the one who's going to get the offer.
So use the AI to get the basics perfect so you have the brain space left over to be truly curious.
That's the strategy.
Huge thanks to Keith Spencer and College Recruiter for the roadmap. It's a brave new world for job seekers, but at least now we have better tools to navigate it.
Good luck out there.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
This has been From Dorms to Desks, job hunting tips for those early in their careers. A podcast brought to you by College Recruiter job search site, which believes that every student and recent grad deserves a great career. Each episode, we dive into tips, tricks, and insights that will help you land your next part-time, seasonal, internship, or entry-level job. Subscribe to this podcast for free now, so you don't miss an episode, and visit www.collegerecruiter.com to find your next great job.